What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. I guess this video will be my letter to Derrick Rose. Um, Derrick probably would never see this video, but he announced that he was retiring from the NBA today. And as a Chicagoan, a Southside Chicagoan, but you know, Chicagoan through and through, like it's emotional because Derrick means so much to this city. Derrick means so much to a lot of young black boys from the hoods of Chicago. A young dude from Inglewood, right? The dude that come from where we come from. You know, and to the whole city of Chicago, but I'm speaking to the inner city because it's two Chicagos. It's the Chicago that Vince Vaughn come from and the Chicago that Derrick Rose come from. I'm from the Chicago that Derrick Rose come from. Southside, gritty, inner city, you know, gangland, where a lot of times it could seem like it wasn't hope. Derrick instilled hope in a lot of the youth here. When we watched him playing at Simeon, bro, we knew the city had something special. That's why we as a whole call him Pooh. You would think everybody grew up with Derrick because of the way we relate to him, the way he represents the common man from Chicago, the way he is of the fray, not above it. Like, it felt like our cousin got drafted. When he got drafted, the whole city wanted to cry. Derrick is a phenomenal person. And this from accounts that other people that I've went to school with him, been around him, that I've known. They only speak good things about him as an individual, right? But yeah, when we saw him get drafted, it felt like Chicago, we here, we have arrived. When I saw a young dude from the Chicago public school system, CPS, become the league MVP, the youngest league MVP at 22 years old, that was emotional for me, dog. Like, we had people from Chicago make it to the league, but to say a dude from the Chicago public school system be the best player, he is the most valuable player in the league at the moment. He the most valuable player. Now, you could say best, you could debate if he was the best or not, but he was the most valuable for sure because we had the best record in the NBA, and the Chicago Bulls had no business having the best record in the league with Keith Bogans as a starting two guard. No disrespect to Keith, but y'all know what I'm saying, right? I shouldn't have threw that in there because now I feel like I'm disrespecting Keith Bogans. Shout out to Keith Bogans, a solid 3-and-D guy, but you know what I mean, right? But yeah, man, like Isaiah Thomas, one of the greatest point guards ever, is from Chicago, right? Born and raised in Chicago. But I say CPS because Isaiah went to St. Joe's. He was taking the bus out to the suburbs to go to school, even though he was still on the west side of Chicago. He living on the west side but taking the bus. Like, Derrick stayed within CPS, you know, and he represented us and to the highest degree. The highest degree, man. Like, when you think about Chicago basketball, you can't tell the story of Chicago basketball without talking about Derrick Rose. Period. I think about the steps that he's made as a man. When he was, this past year, he was with the Memphis Grizzlies. In the introduction press conference, he spoke about being proud of himself, not because of his basketball achievements, not for being a 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, League MVP, and keep playing, not for him bouncing back in his career as a player after the injuries. He spoke about being proud of himself for how articulate he is as a man now, and how he's come a long way from being the shy, introverted teenage kid that really couldn't articulate himself well in front of the camera. And yeah, Derrick represents a lot of us, man. I remember when Derrick first got to Chicago, and in his book he talks about being so introverted that, like, he didn't really want to talk to the cameras. He wasn't comfortable talking to them. It was uncomfortable for him to be in front of these cameras like that. And a lot of the media members took it the wrong way. They thought he was being standoffish towards them, or they thought he was being arrogant or something, but he just was very, very nervous, right? And he couldn't articulate himself that well because of how nervous he was. And I remember during the time when after he had his injury, because the injury derailed probably one of the greatest careers we could have ever saw. If he wouldn't have got hurt, he got hurt early in his career, like after his 4th season. If he wouldn't have got hurt, we talking about Derrick Rose being a top 50 greatest player of all time, probably at least top 75, at least, right? First step, super explosive. Like, come on, man, you couldn't compare it. But anyway, when I'm talking about Derrick and after the injuries, right? And he was speaking about how he wasn't ready to come back. In the Chicago media, I'm going to say this, so people going to get mad. The white Chicago media attacked him. And there was a lot of racial animosity behind it. And Sam Smith, who wrote the Jordan Rules book, spoke about how a lot of it was racial. Sam Smith wrote the foreword in the beginning of that. Is that how you pronounce it? Foreword in the beginning of Derrick Rose's book. Sam talked about, not in the foreword, but in general, he talked about, in interviews, talked about how a lot of the hate he got was racial. They saw a young black man from the south side of Chicago, which a lot of people in Chicago, a lot of these white journalists, they look down on the south side, right? How is this dude from the south side who can't articulate himself as well as I can, with my prestigious degrees, how is he getting all this money and I'm not getting this money? And they were mad that Derrick didn't give them a certain access, but not because Derrick was being an asshole. He was just very introverted and he didn't know how to handle all of those things. Things came to him so fast, and his brothers normally shielded him from the media hoopla when he was in high school and college and stuff, right? So anyway, he would talk about how they would call him stupid and call him dumb, and they thought he was too dumb to understand that they were attacking him. Because I knew they were calling him dumb. I knew they were calling him stupid. Right? There was a few journalists that were doing what. Joe Crowley was a big one. David Kaplan attacked Derrick, and David has since apologized for it. But a lot of them were attacking Derrick personally, and because he was different, and he wasn't like the superstars of yesteryear who was just so gregarious and so outgoing and so whatever. He was introverted. But they were attacking him, and I remember watching Derrick be attacked, and I felt like they were attacking me, because a lot of these journalists in Chicago, a lot of the white journalists, were attacking black folks in the inner city. They were attacking Derrick, but attacking black folks in the inner city, south side, west side Chicago. They were attacking us by proxy when they were attacking Derrick. And I took it personal because I'm like, yo, this is a really good brother. You know what I mean? And they trashing him. But anyway, man, Derrick rose above all of that. He rose above the negativity that even in Chicago, when I talk about two Chicagos, a lot of the fans from the suburban areas were trashing Derrick when he was traded. Like he requested the trade. They were trashing him when he came back when he was with the Knicks, booing him. How dare y'all? Derrick made us relevant again. First MVP we didn't had, only MVP we didn't had since Michael Jordan. I think he was the first All-Star, because I believe Luol Deng became an All-Star with Derrick. He became an All-Star the same year that Derrick was one. You know what I mean? He had us relevant, had us really being talk of like entitled contention talk, even though we were dealing with the Heatles, the big three of the Miami Heat. But Derrick was representing us strong and proud. And I'm always proud of that brother for how far he's come in life and what he's achieved. He achieved generational wealth for his family. He got it. He kept the mental fortitude to stay the path. So many youth from Chicago were great at basketball, but got caught up in gang stuff, got caught up in the streets, got caught up with drinking, smoking, got caught up just doing crazy stuff and never made it. Derrick kept his head on straight to make it for his family, to change the trajectory of their lives, to break generational curses within their family. He talked about on Mav Hoffa podcast, his mama would pay bills. And by the time she paid bills, she had $50 left to her name because she had to pay everybody else back. Because she loaning, getting money, getting loans from other people to pay this and pay that. Speaking about roaches all around in his house, in a roach-infested house in Inglewood. I believe Derrick was on 74th and Paulina. And now he changed everything for his family. Even I respect it, because they tried to run a smear campaign on Derrick. When they were upset that he wouldn't return from injury, they released the context of his deal with Adidas. Oh, he's making Adidas pay his brother. He's making Adidas pay his best friend. You're damn right. They want me as an athlete under contract. They want me. You're gonna get me under my stipulations. We're gonna make sure this generational wealth run through my best friend, run through my brother, and run through me. As long as Derrick was in the NBA, he was getting a certain amount of money from Adidas, as long as he had an NBA contract. So for 16 years, he played 16 years. He was getting his money. And for this is too, because Derrick, man, is a different individual. Derrick made a lot of money, but he thought about quitting a few times after the injuries and how things wasn't going his way. but he came back to have some really great seasons. Even when he was a sixth man for the New York Knicks a few seasons ago, they needed him. They needed his scoring off the bench. They needed it, man. He was still playing some really good basketball. He only played like 24 games last year due to injuries. But before then, man, and before that last year in New York, where Tibbs just basically had him buried. But, you know, Tibbs brought him back with the Timberwolves, and Derrick played some really great basketball. Had the 50-point game. To have the mental fortitude, the resiliency to keep pushing after injury when you know you're not the same, you don't have the same explosiveness, you don't have the same athletic just burst that you used to have, and to still be able to get buckets and put up numbers. That tells you what he's made of as a human being, as a man. But when Derrick got drafted, man, he inspired so many of the kids in Chicago. Look how many kids got drafted from Chicago after that. Top draft picks. After Derrick in 08, we had Anthony Davis, a kid I grew up with. Anthony Davis. You had Jabari Parker. You had Jaleel Okafor. You know, Kendrick Nunn. I don't know if Kendrick got drafted. Kendrick Nunn with the Simeon played with Jabari Parker. You had Ayo Dosunmu from my high school, Morgan Park High School. You had Taylor Horton Tucker, also from Simeon High School. You know, Simeon Career Academy. So, yeah, man, he was an example for a lot of the shorties. If you stay on the right path and do what you got to do, you can make it. You can make it to the league and achieve your dream. And Derrick showed that he was the blueprint for that. He was the blueprint for that, man. And I'm proud of the brother. Happy retirement. You had a great career. Wishing him nothing but the best. Got a beautiful family, wife, kids. Doing a grown man thing, man. He played 16 years, man. Gave a lot to the game. Gave a lot to Chicago. Chicago loves you, Derrick. Loves you. You are us. You represent us and always been representing us to the highest degree, the highest standard. So today, Chicago crying tears of joy. We not watching Derrick play no more. Not watching him play no more. But he done the deed. He had a hellified career, and we were blessed to see him play at his peak when he was with the Chicago Bulls. Machiavelli Mills TV, y'all. I'm out. Happy retirement, Derrick Rose. Peace.